The growth of whites of European descent and African Americans in the United States from 1865 to March 19, 2025, reveals two distinct demographic stories shaped by their origins and paths of expansion. This comparison tracks their numbers from initial arrivals and 1865 totals to today, examines growth patterns with added percentages for clarity, highlights differences, and notes broader implications, all based on historical facts. Numbers around 1865. By the time slavery ended in 1865, millions of Europeans had crossed the Atlantic to settle in the U.S., starting with early colonists and continuing through waves from Northern and Western Europe. Their total population reached about 27 million by that year, a mix of those who arrived and their children born here. Meanwhile, a much smaller group of Africans, less than 500,000, had been forcibly brought as slaves, mostly before the trade was outlawed in 1808. By 1865, this group had grown to roughly 4.5 million, entirely through births, as no major influx followed. Populations today in 2025. Today, whites of European descent number well over 200 million, with more than half tracing their roots to the 1865 population, and the rest linked to millions of Europeans who arrived later. African Americans total over 42 million, with the vast majority descending from those present in 1865, plus a small fraction, about 6%, who came from Africa in recent times. These figures align with a U.S. population exceeding 330 million in 2025. Growth from first arrivals. From their earliest arrivals, whites saw their numbers multiply more than 30 times, reaching over 200 million by 2025, a steady climb of nearly 2% each year for 160 years. Africans, starting from under 500,000, grew over 100 times to more than 42 million, an annual increase of about 2.6%. This stark contrast, where Africans outpaced whites by over 70 times in relative terms, stems from whites having a larger starting group and consistent new arrivals, while Africans relied on natural growth alone for most of their history. Growth from 1865 onward. Looking at 1865 totals, the white population grew over 4 to nearly 6 times, averaging less than 1% to just over 1% yearly. African Americans expanded nearly 9 times, a rate of about 1.4% per year, outpacing whites by 50 to 100% in relative growth. This difference reflects higher birth rates among African Americans in earlier centuries, while white growth slowed with added newcomers and shifting family sizes. Total growth with later arrivals. When counting those who came after 1865, whites increased more than 7-fold, a rise of about 1.3% annually, with roughly 1 in 5 tied to later European immigrants. African Americans grew over 9-fold, at 1.5% yearly, with only about 1 in 17 linked to recent African arrivals. This narrows the gap to 25 to 28% higher growth for African Americans, as white immigration far exceeded African inflows. Differences today. In 2025, whites make up over 60% of the U.S. population, while African Americans account for less than 13%, a ratio of nearly 5 to 1. Whites have added over 4 times more people since 1865 in absolute terms, with immigration playing a larger role in their total compared to the smaller immigrant share among African Americans. Broader patterns. The white population size reflects early settlement and ongoing arrivals from Europe, while African American growth shows a reliance on births despite historical barriers. Economic opportunities historically favored whites, while African Americans expanded under different conditions. Today's proportions and totals highlight these foundational differences, with whites maintaining a numerical edge and African Americans showing a higher growth rate from a smaller base.